I have to start today with a confession. I got to the end of yesterday, looked at the clock, it's 5:30 p.m., and I just felt completely exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
My brain felt like scrambled eggs. I had been, working for 9 hours straight.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tried to write down what I'd actually accomplished, the page was basically blank.
The knowledge worker hangover. It's sort of the defining feeling of our generation, isn't it? You were busy, but you weren't productive.
I was incredibly busy. I must have answered 50 emails. I was in all these Slack channels, emojis flying everywhere, attended 3 Zoom meetings where I think I mostly just nodded.
Right.
But the big project, the strategy doc I've been meaning to write for a month, didn't even touch it. And that feeling, that, spinning your wheels feeling,
Yeah.
is exactly why we're doing a deep dive on Deep Work by Newport today.
It's a modern classic for a reason. And thanks to a great summary from Satchith Pai, we've got a really clear roadmap of Newport's argument. And honestly, the premise is a little terrifying.
Yeah.
He's not just offering, productivity hacks. He's arguing that the way most of us work, that constant state of fragmented distraction, is literally making us obsolete.
He calls the ability to focus the superpower of the 21st century, which, I'll be honest, sounded a little like marketing fluff when I first read it. I mean, everyone says focus is important.
Yeah, sure.
But Newport frames it differently. He creates this binary, shallow work versus
Deep work. And we have to get those definitions right before we go any further. Because what you just described, the emails, the Slack, the readings, that is textbook shallow work.
Yeah.
It's logistical, it's low cognitive demand, and here is the real kicker. It's easy to replicate.
That's the part that stung. If I can train a sophisticated AI or, a fresh college grad to do my job in a month, I'm probably doing shallow work.
Precisely. Deep work is the total opposite. It's professional activity performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive capabilities to their absolute limit.
Right.
Creates new value, it improves your skills, and it is very hard to replicate.
There's a quote in the source material from Neil Stephenson, the novelist, that I think just perfectly captures the stakes here. He basically says, look, he has 2 choices.
Mm-hmm.
He can organize his life to get these long, consecutive, uninterrupted chunks of time.
And in those chunks, he writes novels. He creates entire worlds.
Or he can get fragmented. He can answer every request. But if he does that, he doesn't produce a fragmented novel. He produces nothing. He says he just produces a legacy of sent email messages.
That phrase just haunts me, a legacy of sent emails. When you retire, nobody is going to print out your Outlook sent folder and bind it in leather. But that's where we spend, 80% of our time?
So our mission today is to figure out how to flip that ratio. How do we stop drowning in the shallow end and actually learn to swim deep? But before the how, because Newport has some very strict rules, we need to talk about the why. Because I think a lot of people listening might be thinking, well, my boss pays me to answer emails. I can't just go become a monk.
And that's a totally fair point. But Newport argues there's this massive economic shift happening. We're moving into an economy where good enough is just no longer good enough.
This is the whole intelligent machine argument.
Right. As AI and automation get better and better, the gap between what a human can do and what a machine can do is shrinking. And Newport identifies 3 groups that are going to thrive in this new world.
Okay.
Group 1, the people with the capital, the investors.
All right. Well, I don't have $1 billion, so I'm out of group 1. What's 2?
Group 2, the people who are just incredibly skilled at working with the machines. The AI whisperers, the people who can harness all that tech.
And group 3?
The superstar performers. See, in a connected world, the market is winner take all. If you're the best programmer or the best writer or the best strategist, you can reach the entire global market. But if you're just pretty good,
you're in trouble. Because why would I hire the 10th best person when I can hire the best person from anywhere in the world or just use software?
Exactly. So to be a superstar, you need 2 core abilities. 1, you have to master hard things very quickly. You have to be learning constantly. And 2, you have to produce at an elite level in both quality and speed.
And Newport's whole argument is that you physically cannot do either of those things if you're checking Instagram every 10 minutes.
It's not just a discipline issue, it's a biological one. This was my favorite part of the deep dive, the myelin connection.
Yeah, I love this visual because I always thought getting better at something was just sort of abstract, like your brain just gets smarter somehow.
Yeah.
But it's actually plumbing.
It's insulation. So whenever you focus intensely on a specific skill, let's say you're trying to learn a new coding language or something, you are firing a specific neural circuit in your brain over and over again.
Okay.
That repeated firing triggers these support cells called oligodendrocytes.
Which sounds like a dinosaur, but go on.
And these cells, they wrap layers of myelin, which is this fatty white tissue around the neurons you're using. You can think of it like wrapping electrical tape around a leaky copper wire.
So the signal doesn't leak out.
It creates a superhighway, the signal moves faster and cleaner. So to be skilled at something is literally to be well myelinated.
But okay, here's the dark side of that. If I'm trying to write some complex report, but I have Twitter open in the other tab, and I'm glancing at it every time a notification pops up.
You're firing too many circuits at once. It's just chaotic. You aren't isolating the specific neural group, so the oligodendrocytes don't know where to wrap the myelin. You are effectively preventing your brain from upgrading its own hardware.
That is terrifying. It
Right.
means distraction isn't just wasting my time, it's actively preventing me from getting better. And it gets worse because of attention residue, right?
The multitasking myth,
Yeah.
yes. We all think we can switch tasks instantly. Oh, I'll just check this email for 30 seconds and then go right back to deep strategy. But the research shows that's impossible.
Your attention isn't a light switch.
It's more like molasses. When you switch from task A to task B, a residue of your attention remains stuck on task A. So you're looking at the spreadsheet, but 20% of your brain is still processing that passive-aggressive email from Dave in accounting.
So if I check my email every 15 or 20 minutes, which is pretty standard for most people,
You are never working with your full brain. You are effectively operating with a cognitive handicap all day long.
which explains why we feel so busy but get nothing done. We're running on 60% capacity.
Yeah.
So the science is clear. Deep work creates superstars. Distraction creates, well, me yesterday at 5:00 p.m. But if this is so valuable, why is it so rare? Why are our offices designed to prevent it?
Well, because it's hard to measure. In the absence of clear productivity metrics for knowledge work, because it's basically invisible, we fall back on busyness as a proxy for value.
Right.
If I see you sending emails at 9 p.m., I assume you're productive. If I see you staring out the window thinking, which might be actual deep work, I assume you're slacking off.
We've optimized for looking productive instead of actually being productive. But Newport also argues there's a happiness component here too. This isn't just about making more money.
No, it touches on the concept of flow. Humans are actually happiest when we are stretched to our limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult. We think we want to sit on a beach and do nothing, but that often just leads to anxiety. Deep immersion is what gives life meaning.
Okay, I'm sold. I want the myelin, I want the flow. I want to stop being a shallow worker. But I also have a mortgage and a boss who expects me on Slack. How do we actually do this? Newport outlines 4 rules. Let's break down rule number 1. Work deeply.
The first thing to accept is that willpower is a finite resource. You can't just wake up and say, I will focus today. You will fail by 10 a.m. You need a routine, a ritual, something that removes the choice.
And he offers 4 depth philosophies to choose from. It's like a diagnostic test, right? Which one are you?
Exactly. So first, you have the monastic approach.
The most extreme one.
Oh, yeah. You basically cut yourself off completely. No public email address,
Yeah.
no phone number. You live in a cabin. This is for the Neil Stephensons of the world.
Okay, realistic for like 0.1% of our listeners. If I do that, I get fired. What's next?
The bimodal approach. This is what Carl Jung apparently did. You split your time. So maybe you work normally for 4 days, but Friday is a bunker day where you just vanish. Or you take 1 week off every quarter to do nothing but think.
I like this one, but it still requires a lot of autonomy. You have to be able to tell your team, hey, I'm disappearing for 24 hours, don't call me.
True. For most office workers, the best bet is probably the rhythmic approach.
The Seinfeld chain method.
Exactly. You simply schedule a fixed time every single day for deep work. Maybe it's 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. before the family wakes up. Maybe it's the first 90 minutes of the workday. You make it a rhythm. You don't have to decide when to work. The calendar decides for you.
That feels the most doable. It builds the habit. And the last one was the journalistic approach.
This is the black belt level. This is for people like Walter Isaacson. You are so trained that if a meeting gets canceled and you suddenly have 20 minutes free, you can immediately dive into deep concentration.
Yeah, if I have 20 minutes, I'm checking sports scores. I can't switch gears that fast.
Most people can't. If you try the journalistic method before you're ready, you'll just fail. So for most people, stick to rhythmic. But no matter which schedule you pick, Newport says you have to track it. And he borrows this concept from 4DX, the 4 disciplines of execution. You need a scoreboard.
I love the detail here. He's not talking about some fancy app.
No, tangible is better. He describes a piece of paper taped to the wall near your desk. It's incredibly simple. Every time you complete an hour of real, painful, deep work, you make a tally mark.
It sounds kind of kindergarten level, but there's a real psychology to it.
It focuses you on the lead measure. See, most of us focus on lag measures, like, did I finish the project? But by the time you can answer that, it's too late. The lead measure is the input. How many hours of depth did I get? If you focus on getting the tally marks, the project finishes itself.
And there's just something satisfying about physically marking the paper. I did the work. Okay, so we have a schedule, we have a scoreboard. But now we face the real enemy, my own brain. Because when I sit down to do that hour of work, I get bored immediately.
And that brings us to rule number 2. Embrace boredom.
This is the one that really hurts.
It hurts because we've fundamentally broken our brains. Newport argues that concentration is a muscle. But for the last 10 years, we've been going to the distraction gym every single day.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. You're waiting in line at the grocery store. You have 30 seconds of downtime. What do?
I pull out my phone, I check headlines, I check the weather, anything.
Right. And by doing that, you are training your brain that boredom is a signal to switch contexts. You are wiring yourself for novelty. So when you sit down to write that strategy doc and it gets hard, which creates a feeling of boredom, your brain just screams, switch! Where's the dopamine hit?
So I haven't just lost the ability to focus. I've actively trained myself to be distracted.
Exactly. So the training is stop fleeing from boredom. When you're in line, just stand there. Be bored. Look at the wall.
It sounds so simple, but I tried this yesterday after reading the notes. It was excruciating. I could feel my hand twitching toward my pocket.
That's the withdrawal. But you have to reclaim that tolerance for a lack of stimuli. Newport also suggests Roosevelt dashes to train the intensity.
This sounded like a sprint workout for the brain.
It is. Teddy Roosevelt used to study in these manic, intense bursts. You pick a task that should take an hour, and you set a timer for 35 minutes. You force yourself to work at a blistering pace to beat the clock.
So you're not just working, you're redlining.
You are forcing the attention muscle to contract harder than it's used to. It's painful, but it builds the capacity for depth very, very quickly.
Okay, so we're retraining the brain. But we still have to deal with all the external noise.
Yeah.
Rule number 3 is quit social media. Now, usually when people say this, it just sounds preachy. Social media is bad, go touch grass. But Newport has a specific logic here.
The any benefit trap.
Yes.
This is the mistake we all make. We justify using a tool because it has some benefit. You say, well, I use Facebook because sometimes my high school friend posts an interesting article.
And I don't want to miss that one article, therefore Facebook is a critical work tool.
Right. We focus on the tiny benefit and we totally ignore the massive cost, the time sink, the attention residue, the fragmentation. So Newport proposes a different metric, the core benefit approach.
How does that work?
You list the top 2 or 3 goals in your professional life, the things that actually determine your success. Then you look at the tool, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and ask, does this tool substantially and significantly help me achieve these core goals?
So if I'm a writer, does arguing with strangers on Twitter help me write better books?
Probably not. In fact, it probably steals the mental energy you need for the book, so you cut it.
He suggests a packing party for your digital life, which I think is a great experiment for anyone listening.
It's basically an elimination diet for your apps. You quit everything for 30 days. Cold turkey. Don't announce it, just stop. After 30 days, you ask 2 questions. 1, would the last month have been notably better if I had used these apps? And 2,
Did anyone care that I was gone? That second one is the real ego killer. We all think the world is waiting for our next post.
and usually nobody even noticed you were gone. It's humbling, but it's also very freeing.
Okay, so we've cleared the external distractions, we're embracing boredom, but we still have the emails, we still have the shallow work. We can't just ignore our boss. This is rule number 4, train the shallows.
This is all about containment. You can't eliminate shadow work, but you can corral it so it doesn't bleed into everything else. And the key tool here is time blocking.
Now, I've tried to-do lists for years, and they never stick. How is this different?
A to-do list is just a menu of things you might do. Time blocking is a contract with your time. Newport suggests you open a notebook paper again, keeping it analog, and you map out every minute of your day.
Every single minute.
Every minute. You draw blocks. 9 to 11 a.m. is deep work. 11 to 11:30 is batch email. 11:30 to 12 is lunch. Every minute gets a job.
But here's my pushback on that. I make that beautiful plan at 8 a.m. At 9:15, my boss calls with an emergency. The whole plan is dead.
And that's fine. That's why there's a right-hand column on the page. When the plan breaks, and it will, you simply cross out the old blocks and draw new ones for the time you have left. You replan. The goal isn't to stick to the schedule perfectly, it's to remain intentional. If you don't assign a job to your time, someone else will.
That makes sense. It's about adaptation, not perfection. But there's another concept in this section that I found really stressful, but also brilliant. Fixed schedule productivity.
This changes everything. Instead of working until the work is done, which, let's be honest, is never, you set a hard deadline. I finish work at 5:30 p.m., period.
That sounds lovely, but also impossible. If I have too much to do, I have to stay late.
Newport argues the exact opposite. If you know you cannot work past 5:30, it forces you to be ruthless during the day. You stop saying yes to useless meetings, you stop hovering over emails, you cut the shallow stuff because you literally don't have time for it. The constraint creates the efficiency.
And then, when 5.30 hits, you have to actually stop. Which brings us right back to where we started, the hangover, the inability to switch off.
This is the shutdown ritual, and it's designed to fight something called the Zeigarnik effect.
Which is the fancy psychological term for my brain won't shut up about incomplete tasks.
Exactly. If you close your laptop with open loops, emails you didn't reply to, problems you didn't solve, your brain just keeps churning on them in the background. It creates anxiety. You can't be present with your family.
So how do we close the loops without actually finishing all the work?
You do a formal review, you look at your plan, you see what you missed. You write down exactly when you will tackle those things tomorrow. You verify you haven't missed anything urgent. And then, and this is the part people laugh at, but it's critical, you say a termination phrase.
You say it out loud.
Out loud. Newport's is shutdown complete.
I feel like if I say shutdown complete in my open plan office, people are going to think I'm, like, rebooting my own operating system.
Whisper it if you have to. But that vocal trigger is a signal to your brain. It says, we have reviewed the work. It is now safe to stop worrying. It lets you actually relax.
And we need that relaxation, right? Not just to feel good, but to recharge the battery for the next day of deep work.
Yes. Nature walks, casual conversation, reading these things restore your directed attention resources. Scrolling through email on the couch does not. If you don't shut down properly, you start the next day with a half-empty tank.
So let's zoom out. We've covered a lot here. The neuroscience of myelin, the 4 philosophies, the scoreboard, embracing boredom, time blocking.
It's a complete overhaul of how we approach our days.
It is. And honestly, it sounds exhausting. It sounds like a lot of discipline.
It is hard. I won't sugarcoat it. Newport admits that a deep life is not for everyone. It's much easier to just be busy. There's a comfortable hum in the shallows. You feel important when you're answering all those messages.
That's the scary part, isn't it? If I lock myself in a room for 4 hours to solve a really hard problem, I have to face the possibility that maybe I can't solve it.
Deep work exposes you. It removes all the noise that can hide your limitations, but it's also the only place where real value is created. It's the only place where you build things that actually matter.
So here's the thought I want to leave everyone with today. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You're looking back at your body of work. If you strip away all the meetings, the Slack notifications, the performance of being a good worker, what is the artifact you're leaving behind? Is it a novel? Is it a breakthrough strategy? Or is it just a really well-organized sent folder?
Depth is the only way to ensure it's the former.
So here's the challenge. Just try it tomorrow. Don't go full monastic yet. Just use the rhythmic method. Schedule 1 hour. Put your phone in another room. Say shutdown complete when you're done. Just see how it feels to actually use your brain for what it was built for. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.